right. Good evening, everyone, and good morning for those who are joining from, various parts of the globe. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first session for Power BI. Let's go ahead and deep dive into the basics first, and then we'll jump into the tool itself. We have to go and do this step by step. I'm going to be going very slow today, and we'll try to understand a lot of important concept. I would call them as foundations to your Power BI tool. So let's go ahead and look at those different foundational aspects of things, and then we will deep dive into the different details. Okay. I would like you to go ahead and post your questions on the chat box. I will give you the mic access in some time. You can go ahead and stop me anytime, unmute me, unmute yourself, and then talk to me. So you can just go do that. I'll just give you the access in some time, but I just wanted to go ahead and get started with some details. So yeah, this is going to be a full-fledged training session. It's not a demo that I'm giving you. So we are kicking off our third batch today. So we will just go ahead and, kind of get started with the real concept and understand the basics, get into those details. And this batch will continue with whoever is enrolling for this particular course, and we'll just take that particular details forward. Okay. So yeah, that's how things are going to work. So I think the first 2 to 3 sessions is completely free. You can just go and join that, and you can see what's going on here, how this particular class progressing. If you're really interested, and if you have not yet enrolled so far, you can go and do that. And that's what is the idea here. Okay, good. Enough of talking. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first concept in Power BI. Now, I want to go ahead and set some context. I want you to understand how Power BI works. Power BI is not like any other tool. Power BI is not Excel. Power BI is not a Word document. It's not a PowerPoint presentation or any other document for that matter. We are not working with an application that is something like that. Okay. This is a separate and a different tool altogether. We'll go and understand the ways of working. And there is a concept that I want you to learn even before you get started, or even if you get your hands dirty with Power BI before that, I want you to know this particular concept. So let's deep dive into it. Okay. Uh, so let's just go do that. I'm just going to bring up a few things here. Let me bring up a slide, and we will go through a couple of slides before we can jump into the tool itself. Okay. So we are learning Power BI, and if you have joined the demos before, the demo that happened this week, 2 demos that have happened. My name is Ambarishan. You can call me Amber, and I have been working with Power BI for more than 8 years now. I have worked with the IT industry for more than 15 years now, and I think I have enough, um, knowledge and things to go and give you the idea. And I've seen this particular tool, like I said yesterday in our demo. I've seen this tool from, when it was a baby, and I've seen it evolve. I've seen it grow. So I have worked with this tool for the last 8, 9 years almost. And this is an amazing tool. It has great capabilities, great strength, and you are working with one of the top-notch tools out there in the market right now. Okay. All right. We will get into the concept right now, and we'll just understand what this is. Okay. The very first concept that I want to touch base on is we want to understand how a traditional BI tool works. Okay. Even before getting into Power BI as a tool, we want to go ahead and understand how a traditional BI tool would work. And I would like to take a step back. I would like to go ahead and give you a glimpse of what happens in a traditional ways of working by using a separate or a different example altogether. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly go to a browser. Okay, let me just open up a browser, and I'm just going to visit a website, and we will understand the way the website works. I'm just going to unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and talk to me, but let's go ahead and do this first. When I ask you that question, I'll just go ahead and give you the mic access. All right. Okay. I'm just going to go into the makemytrip.com, and that's what I do. All right. And this is makemytrip.com. It's one of the websites where you go and book your flights, hotels, and other details. There are different websites like this, but I would like to go and use this as an example. Okay. We will go ahead and try booking a flight, and we'll just go use the search criteria here to just go ahead and understand a few things. So let's try and talk about those different details. So let's just do this. Okay. Let's say I am trying to go from, let's just do this, Bengaluru to, let's do New Delhi. Okay. And the departure dates are like this. Let's start off on 20th of Jan. Let's come back sometime in February, 12th of February, something like that. I'm going to make this particular tool, and I'm going to give this tool a hard time. So let's go ahead and max out these passengers, these, travelers here. So I'm just going to make 9 adults, 6 children. Let's just go max these things out. And we just want a lot of people to travel in this particular flight. And let's make it a business class. And let's see if we have something, that flies from Bengaluru to New Delhi that way. And I'm just going to apply these filters. So there are 21 travelers. Now remember, there are infants, there are children, and they cannot be put into a separate flight. So all of these passengers are supposed to be in a single flight. That's the hard time that I'm giving this tool to go and search and give me the results. So this is something that we want the tool to do. Now I'll just go ahead and hit the search button here, and I'll freeze the screen just before it can show all that search results and all of that. I'm just going to freeze the screen here. We'll go ahead and discuss a few things, and then we will try to get to certain more details. Okay. So let's see. I'm hitting search, and I'm going to freeze my screen. Let's just go ahead and do this very quickly. Just have a look, and I'm just going to ask you some questions. Let's discuss that. We'll move forward with those answers. Okay. Search, and look at that. What is it doing? It's trying to go ahead and search for the flights. Something is happening. Something is loading behind the scene. We are trying to go ahead and fetch the flights for you. That's the message that I'm getting. And all of this is what is happening, right? But I want to understand the small details behind the scene that is going on. So what I like to do is I would go ahead and give you the mic access. We would like to go ahead and understand what's happening here. So let's go ahead and try doing that. I would like you to unmute yourself and talk to me, but I'm just going to go back one step. Give me 1 second. Let's just try doing this. Okay, I've given you the mic access. I'm just going to run this one more time to a different destination altogether. The things are all the same. Let's go ahead and do a search here. I'm going to pause the screen, and I want you to tell me what is going on here. Anyone? What is going on behind the scene? What do you think is going on behind the scene here in this particular website?
Collecting the data.
Okay, where is it collecting the data from?
From the database.
From the database. Very good. So, and what on what basis? How would it go ahead and query the database? What is it going to do?
Through API, yes.
Through API. Okay. What else? I mean, we have something in place. We have something here, right? So we have given these inputs. So based on this, the query will be framed, and you'll be looking at the database to go ahead and fetch the results. Very good. Thank you for those inputs. Yes. All right. All right. Have a look. So what we have done as here is we have some input criteria. Yes, this is what we have got on the top. The tool or this website is going to take this input. It is going to frame a query. Yes, am I right in saying that? It is going to go and find this particular results from the database. Yes, it can use API. It can do anything behind the scene. We're not going into those nitty-gritty details, but it's going to go into the database and look for those results. Yes. Once that result is obtained, it's going to display that in front of you. So it's going to give you the list of flights in this particular web page. And that's what is going to happen. Is everyone clear? Yes. Is everyone clear? That's what will happen. Yes. So I'm just going to come out of the freeze mode here, and we'll just see what is the result that are coming up. Yeah. So look at that. These are the flights that we have. These are some business class flights that we have from Bangalore to Mumbai. I've changed the destination a little, and there are only 2 flights, I believe. And this is how things are going on. Okay. So that's what we have. All right. So these are the details. Let me just go ahead and do this in real time so that you understand things. I want you to pay attention to some details. Let's go and get to that in a while, but let's see how that goes. Okay. So I'm just changing this. Let's just go from, let's say New Delhi to Mumbai. And I'm just going to change this parameter a little bit. Let's just go do that. And let's just go give it that way. Search. Look at this. I hit the search button. Can you see a slight delay here? Yes, 2 seconds of delay. It has not given me the results, but it is giving it after a few seconds of delay. That's what we have. Any questions, anyone? Okay. Yeah. So this is important for you to note. We have given a query, we have given a input. It is kind of taking that query, processing that results and showing that in front of you. Okay. So this is something that I want you to understand and remember. We'll take this as an example and we'll go ahead and understand what is a traditional BI, how were the tools, the reporting tools, the BI tools working in the past. And we'll get to the definition of a BI. Just hold on. We'll go ahead and do that later, but we'll just go ahead and understand how a tool would have worked in the past. I'm talking about 10, 20 years ago when we did not have this cloud-based concepts and other things. So the, way things were working 20 years ago was like, everything was in the organization premises. Let's say I have an office, I have a corporate office. In that office, you should have seen some server rooms in your organization. If you are, working professional, you should have a server room. You'll have racks of, servers. You should have seen this in movies. Otherwise, yes, people go and hack from the server room. They go and hack those servers, right? So that's how we are talking about. So they will have an on-prem server. We were not talking about cloud technologies in the past 10, 20 years ago. We never had the cloud technologies. It's all the trends of the recent past. So that's how we were having it. So we'll just go deep dive into those details and I'll just give you those details. But that's one. I want you to put your WhatsApp number, and my team is just posting those messages here. So I would like you to go ahead and reply to their messages. Please post your WhatsApp number. Try to make sure that if you're interested, just give us that number and we'll reach out to you to go ahead and let you know the next steps. And that's something that my team wants you to do. Please do that if you're really interested. And you can just continue to watch the session, and you can just decide based on that. Okay. All right. Have a look. This is what we have done. So I'll just do this one more time, one last time. Just going to change some dates here. That's it. Let's go and try that out. Search. And I want you to pay attention to certain details. Okay. One, there is a slight delay, a little bit of a delay before this website can load and give you all the information. There is a slight delay. And the second thing is the parameters that we are passing. Those are the basis or the foundation of just getting this query coming up, right? So these are something that you want to understand. Okay. Let me go back and we'll talk about our traditional ways of working. Okay. So let me go to the next slide here. Now, this is one of the traditional reporting tools. Look at this particular detail here. The inputs are to be given from the dropdown. Once these inputs are given, it will go back to the database. It will go and talk to the database and it will give you the results like this. Yes, that's what would happen. And this is one of the old tools that we have. We can see this particular UI, user interface. It's not that good. It's an old ways of, working. And yes, this is what I call as a traditional reporting tool. Okay. So we are taking the concept that we have just understood, the website ways of working, and we are just trying to understand it from a reporting perspective. The reporting tools would also work like this. So we'll just go ahead and understand that from that standpoint. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. And this is where we'll do the talking and we'll understand how this traditional reporting tool would work. Okay. So like I said, there is a database, and I'm going to call that as an on-prem database. It's a short form of on-premises database, okay, or a server. So this database is there on a premises, on your organization's premises, and that's what is called as an on-prem server, okay? And then you will have your reporting tool. Yes, we will have our traditional reporting tool. That's what we have. And this is how it is all set up. Now let's talk about a few things here. Okay. You saw the website. and we were able to query the website. We were able to get to those results. All of that is good. But the website was searching for the flights from, let's say, one source to one destination. Yes or no? One source and one destination. Probably it was looking for a date. I'm just going to go mark it as D, date, and there was one departure date and there was one arrival date, whatever that is. I'm just going to mark that with D. So there was a date, there is another date, there is one source, one, destination. So it was a very few input, very, very simple inputs that we have given, very specific input that we have given. So the query is kind of laser targeted to get the requested detail from the database. Yes or no? Good. Now, let's say, for example, in your reporting environment, your boss or your client is asking you to show them last 7 years of profitability trend. Let's say, for example, last 7 years of profits trend. Okay. What I want you to understand now
Hey,
is I would like you to go on mute, please. If you're not talking, please go on mute. That's why I control things on the mic here. So, okay, no problem. All right, have a look. So we would like to see last 7 years of profitability trend. Let's say, for example, and this is not a simple data set. We want to have last 7 years of data looked at for understanding the profit. Let me give you an example of which database we are looking at. Okay. Let's say we are looking at Amazon's database. What is it? It's Amazon's database. Okay. Amazon, the e-commerce giant in the world. Flipkart, you may be a fan of Flipkart, but I'm a fan of Amazon. I purchase a lot from Amazon. So you should have purchased from some sort of an e-commerce website. Yes. Now, how many transactions are happening on a single day in Amazon? What do you think? I would say millions and millions of transactions. Yes. It's a, just give me a minute. I'll have to stop these, things here. Give me a minute, guys. Don't draw on my screen, please. If you're trying to explore, that's good, but I don't want you to annotate on my screen. Just give me a minute. I'll have to stop all of this because people start drawing it. Okay. Uh, 1 second. I'm just going to, I'll just see if I can erase it. No. Okay, great. Good. All right, have a look. So we're talking about Amazon here. We're talking about Amazon's database. Imagine the volume of data for one day. Yeah. Millions and millions of transactions are happening across the globe. Even if you take India for that matter, it's going to be huge. Millions and millions of transactions for sure. Yes. Now let's just do the math. Okay. It's one day. Let's say you have 10 million transactions coming in. That's just for one day. 30 days, 300 million transaction. 365 days. You do the math. Last 7 years of data. That's what we wanted to go and look at. Yes or no? Last 7 years of transactions from Amazon. We want to go and understand that part. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Please don't mute yourself. I'm going to disable the mic for some time. It's going to be complete disturbance for everyone else. So I'm just going to disable the mic. I'll give you the permission sometime later. Okay. Have a look. So last 7 years of data from Amazon is going to be huge. We want to see the profitability trend for the last 7 years. And I want to get to that 7 years worth of data. Yes. So that's a huge data that I'm looking for. Now, do you think that, let's say I say, hey, I want last 7 years of data. Okay, I'm just hitting that drop down. It's framing a query. Last 7 years is what I'm looking for. And it's sending that data to this particular server. Do you think the server is going to give you the results in a second, like the website? There was a few seconds of delay. Use the chat box. Okay. Do you think it's going to be giving me the results in a very few seconds. Yes or no? Anyone? Let me know. I'll unmute you now. Let's see. Do you think it's going to just take a few seconds to give you 7 years worth of Amazon's data? Just a simple yes or no. What is it? What do you think?
No, it won't.
No, it won't. Very good. So it won't give you that in a few seconds. So this is one of the problems that we had with our, you know, traditional reporting tool. We're not just talking about going back to the database, coming back with the results. No, we are talking about the data that we are trying to go ahead and get from our database. Got it? So we have a traditional reporting environment, and there is going to be some inputs, some text boxes or drop downs that you'll go ahead and kind of select few things from. You are going to frame a query out of it, or the tool is going to frame a query out of it. It is going to be executed in the database side, and a query is to be run before it can give you the results back and before you can bring up those charts, graphs, and visuals on your reporting environment. You getting my point? If the query runs forever, if the query is not getting completed, and if it is not completed in a few seconds or few minutes or however you want to just go ahead and take that much amount of time to process and get that query, you will not see the results here. This is not going to be sent. The results are not going to be sent. And the user sitting here watching this particular report has to just look at the screen for a long, long time. And it's going to be very, very difficult. I hope you're getting my point here, right? So this is how I want you to look at it. Okay. So we are sending the details back to the server. The server will go ahead and give you the results. It has to process the result first. It has to give you that results. But if it is 7 years worth of data for Amazon, it's going to be very, very huge amount of data. It's not going to be giving you the results immediately. I hope you're clear, right? So that's what I want you to understand. So when you go and do this, when the results are obtained, you will be able to see all of that particular charts, graphs, and other things come up. That's all fine. But the 7 years worth of data is going to have a bit of a delay. The website is taking a few seconds to go and give you a few flights, two searches, two results. That is what we got. But in order to get to that two results, it has to scan through the database, give you all the results. I hope I'm making sense here, right? So this is all that I want you to understand. So that was one of the drawbacks of the traditional BI tool, because we are going back and forth to the database, coming back with the results. The amount of data that you're trying to go and fetch is going to tell you, or is going to make the delay, happen here. So that is how I want you to look at this information. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about the disadvantages in the traditional ways of working, the old ways of working. This is not Power BI tool. This is old tools that we worked with in the past. So what are the disadvantages here? The disadvantages here is the delay during reporting. Yes, we are just talking about it. The delays during reporting. There is a delay because of the amount of data that you're trying to pull. 7 years worth of data, you're trying to pull that. It is definitely going to take some time. Yes. And that's one of the biggest challenges of working in a traditional route. Okay. The second disadvantage that we will have whenever we worked with those old tools is that you needed a dedicated developer for everything. Imagine me asking you this, okay? Imagine me asking you to go ahead and work on Java today. I don't know if there are any Java developers. I don't know if there are anyone who can build a website out of Python or Java or .NET or something like that. I'm just asking you to go do something that you don't know. Are you ready for it? Can you go ahead and take that up? The answer is no. You'll have to know how to go ahead and work on these different coding platforms. You'll have to go ahead and know the basics of HTML, CSS. There are a lot of things that goes on, and you'll have to go ahead and learn all of those different things. And then comes the website development. Yes or no? So these are very important things. You cannot get started with a tool just like that. And similar was the case with even a reporting tool in the past. It was very difficult for these people to work on, and not everyone can get started with this particular tool. That's how I want you to look at it. Okay, is this clear? These are the disadvantages. And what I'll do is I'll just show you how these disadvantages are getting converted into advantages as we move on and we talk about the modern BI tools. These disadvantages are going to be converted into advantages. Okay, so that's the reason I'm just bringing this up. I hope you're getting this. Yes, is it all clear? Let me just see if there are any questions. I'll take them up. I'm just again providing you the mic access. If you have any questions, do let me know. Any questions until this point? Anyone? Okay.
Hi Amber, I have a question. So when you say traditional BI tools, which tool exactly you are talking about? Like, were there any traditional BI tools before these cloud-based tools came into the picture?
Yeah, so I have worked with a tool called as SSRS. Have you heard of this term called SSRS?
Is it from Microsoft?
Yeah, it's also Microsoft tool. And
Mhm.
we had before Power BI, there was a package of tools given. Okay, so we had a tool set called as MSBI, Microsoft BI. And within that, you get three tools. One of them was SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services.
Services, yeah.
Second tool was SQL Server Reporting Services. And then
Mhm.
there was SQL Server Analysis Services. Okay. So these
Okay.
were the tools we were getting. And this is one of the old tools that I'm talking about from
Mhm.
Microsoft. This was a predecessor of Power BI, and it
Okay,
was a traditional BI tool. Yeah.
got it.
There
Yes,
were many tools out there in the market, but I just want to name a few here. SSRS is one of them. Yeah. All right.
got it. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? We are not talking about Power BI in this traditional ways of working. So it's not a traditional tool, it's a modern tool. Okay. We'll go and learn that in some time. Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, good. Let's move on. So let me go to the next slide. And that's where we are talking about the modern BI tools. Okay, let's just do that. So in the modern ways of working, again, we would have a on-prem server. Yes, we have the same old on-prem server. Let's say we are not talking about cloud technologies yet. These are cloud-based platforms and environments, but we will just talk about the on-prem server. It's all about the database. Where is the data lying? Let's say it still lies in that old server. Yeah. Now comes the modern BI tool. So what we will do is, and I just have some flaws here. So let's say, for example, we will go ahead and talk about the Power BI desktop here. Okay. Now, instead of going back to the database, coming back with the results, and that's what was the traditional tool doing. But instead of doing all of that, what we will do is we will pull all the data that we need, the 7 years worth of data that will be pulled into the tool itself. You're getting my point? Yes. So there is a slight change in how we are dealing with the data right now. So instead of going back to the database and then coming back with our result, which is going to take some time, delay a lot of time. And instead of doing all of that, we are going to pull all that data that we need for our analysis into the tool itself. Okay. The tool, this Power BI desktop tool, is going to convert your data into compressed versions of the files. Okay. Getting it? So instead of going back and talking to the database, what this tool is going to do is it is going to go and pull all that information into the tool itself. And it is going to convert that into a local file. It is going to be a compressed versions of your database. And that's how things are going to be. Okay, clear? All right. So this is how I want you to look at this information. All right. Now, once this database is kind of taken into your local machine, it is compressing and giving you this information. So we have created that compressed versions of the file. Power BI will no longer look for this, connection. It is not required to pull any information, because all the data that we wanted is now sitting as a compressed versions of our file in our local machine. Yes, we'll deep dive into those details. Just hold on, but I'm just going to explain this a little bit like this. Okay. So the tools like modern BI tools, Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, ClickSense, if you go through the BI tools out there in the market, these are the top-notch tools. And if you go and understand how they behave, how they work, they are going to pull the information into the tool itself. Okay. And whatever information that you need, whatever data that you need for your analysis, we were talking about 7 years worth of Amazon's data set. We are going to pull all of that into the tool itself. And it's going to create a compressed version of the file and keep it in your local machine. When I say local machine, where is it going to store it? It is going to store this into the RAM memory, random access memory. Yes, you're aware of the RAM memory in your machine. RAM is random access memory. It's one of the quickest way of storing and retrieving the data. In other words, writing and reading the data. Yes, you have RAM in your phones. You have RAM in every single application or an electronic device that you go and run today. Okay, let it be your smartwatch, let it be your phone, let it be your laptop or anything of that sort. Everything has a RAM. Why do we have a RAM memory? Because the applications wants to create some temporary files. They want to store that information, retrieve it quickly, and that's why we need this RAM memory, right? So this is where the data is going to be stored, and that's how Power BI is now going to process it. So once you have the data sitting in the RAM, like I said, it is going to look at this information and cut off any link from the outside world. Yes. And it is going to just read and write this particular data from the compressed versions of the file. And like I said, it's going to be all the random access memory where we are storing it. So that's where the catch is. We'll go and talk about the disadvantages of this as well. And that's one of the important things that you have to go and know. Okay. So RAM, random access memory, you have very limited RAM. Yes or no? Let's say you have about 8 GB of RAM. Yeah. 8 GB of RAM. I'm using my mouse to write all of this, so don't mind my bad handwriting on the screen here. Okay, 8 GB of RAM, that's what we have. Let's say, for example, it's a very basic laptop. And let's say there is a good, nice compression ratio. Okay, there is a compression ratio of 10 is to 1, which means if I'm sending 10 GB of information from my database, and if it can compress it into 10 is to 1 ratio, this can go and sit as 1 GB of information in your RAM. Getting my point? Yeah. So we have a compression ratio. There is a data engine behind the scene that can compress your data. And if you're sending 10 GB of information, and this is just an example to let you know what we can encounter when we're working with this sort of a technology. Okay. So if you're sending about 10 GB of information, and if there is a good, nice compression ratio of 10 is to 1, again, that's just an assumption. That's just an example that I'm giving. It's not the actual values. Okay. Don't take it for granted. All right. And don't think like this. You cannot go ahead and, kind of send 10 GB or more than 10 GB into Power BI. No, it can do amazing things. It has a very good compression ratio, but this is all an example that I'm giving you. Okay. So assuming that it's a 10 is to 1 ratio that we have for compression, and if you're sending 10 GB of information, it will go and sit as 1 GB of information in your RAM. So you can process all of this information. But let's say you're sending 100 GB of information. Yes, 100 GB of information. You're sending that. What happens? 10 is to 1 ratio. This will go and sit as 10 GB of information. Can you go and store 10 GB of information into your 8 GB RAM? The answer is no. Are you getting my point? Yes. So though this technology, this detail is slightly advanced and we are doing something different here, we are storing everything in our random access memory and kind of processing it. So it's going to be able to go and read and write things very easily. But there is also a drawback to that. And that is nothing but you cannot load too much of data into your RAM memory and then process that result. It's going to choke that RAM memory and you'll not be able to work on certain applications. Have you ever gone through the Windows machine where your applications are getting stuck? Why is it getting stuck? Because it's not able to go and read and write those information from the RAM memory. If you're choking the RAM, your entire, you know, system is going to collapse. Everything is going to freeze. You'll have to go and restart your system. And that's the drawback that we have with Power BI. So you'll have to know what is the limit. I might have told you 7 years of information for Amazon's data set, 7 years worth of information for Amazon. It can be huge. It can be too much. But if you can just go ahead and aggregate it, if you're just looking for profit trends, all that you need is probably a date value, date column, and you may need a profit column. Simple, two columns. Okay, date and profit, probably those are important. And if you can just bring in smaller information, bits and pieces of that information to go and build whatever you want, that would be much better. Instead of bringing in everything from the Amazon's database, right from the different products that they have, right from the ASIN, you should have heard that, the ratings, the different regions that we serve, the different countries where we have presence, all of that is going to be too much of a data. If you're just looking at profit by different dates, simple, just bring in two columns. So if you can be selective, if you can be very picky here and there, you can reduce the amount of the data that you're bringing into Power BI, and you should be able to go ahead and solve a lot of problems. So I want you to keep this in mind. Okay. And since we are talking about the random access memory, we are talking about some memory based concept. I am going to refer to this further down the line in our course. I'm going to refer to this particular concept as in memory concept. And these tools which are using in-memory concept are called as in-memory tools. Okay, so Power BI is an in-memory tool. Tableau is an in-memory tool, and all of those, top level uh, products out there is all going to be in-memory tool. They are going to use the memory to go and store and process the result. And this concept, I'm going to refer to that as in-memory concept from now onwards. And that's what you have to go and know. So every time that you touch and work with Power BI, you'll have to have this in mind. Are you loading too much of data? Are you going to go and choke your memory? That's something that is very important, and you need to go and make sure that you're careful enough. Every single decision that you make within the tool, you are going to impact the memory. Let's say you create a column, you derive some calculations, you create a column out of it. That column is going to generate more and more values. That's going to be further occupying a lot of memory. So we'll have to go and decide a lot of things when we are working with this particular tool. And that's very, very important. All right. And that's what is going to be one of the key things that I want to go ahead and share with you, even before we touch and work with this particular tool. This is one important concept that I'll iterate through the entire course. You'll have to remember this. Okay. No one is going to teach you this. No one is going to tell you all of this. This may not be very important from everyone's standpoint. But what I'm saying here is this is something that is going to help you understand how the tool works. And more importantly, whenever you face some challenges, you'll have to look at from the in-memory concept and to understand all of these different details. Okay. I hope that is all clear so far. Any questions, please do let me know. Okay. And one thing that I wanted to just tell you or kind of clarify, let's say you have about 8 GB of information. Now, 8 GB fully won't be available to you to go and consume for the tool here. Okay. 8 GB, let's say a few GBs of that, or maybe 0.5 GB of that is going to be used by the operating system. There are other applications running. Yes, let's say you have Word document, Excel, blah, blah, blah running in your machine. That's going to take up some more memory. Let's say 1 GB of that is going to be used by some other application. So you'll not have 8 GB completely to go and utilize that. So what I want you to do is you want to go and make sure that you're consuming the rest of the memory. So it's going to be, again, very lesser memory that you can go and have. And that's how I want you to go and look at it. Okay. I hope that is clear. Any questions here? Anyone? Let me know.
So at an organization level, if we have a requirement to pull huge volumes of data,
Mhm.
should we always rely on our in-memory of a particular local system, or is it at a server level we can store it on the memory and we can
Yeah,
still fetch
so the way you are going to work with this tool is you are building this information or building the base in your local machine, right? So you're working with a desktop based version, or probably you will be able to log into a cloud machine. Let's say you're given with a good, nice configuration on the cloud and you're working with that. That would be a good, nice option. But if you're using a local machine like a laptop or a desktop, and if you don't have too much of resource inside it, and we are just coming up with a basic, layout for our report, you can work with some minimalistic data. Let's say 1 lakh, 2 lakh, a million records, or 100 million records. That's all okay to go and load. But when you go and publish this to your server later point in time, you're going to push this to your server, and then you will go and start, sharing and collaborating from that server, and every user can log in and do all of that. So when you are publishing this to the server will have more capabilities. You can adjust the way in which you are pulling the data and bring in more data when you have published this into the server. So what I'm trying to tell you here is when you develop this report, it's going to be very limited resources that you'll have. So I want you to be careful about that, because that's where we'll, work 99% of the time. You're going to only publish it when the report is all ready to the server, and then it will start using the server's, resources to go and do all of that. So we can go and have huge amount of data loaded on the server side, but not on the desktop side. So that's the difference that I want to go and make. Yeah.
And Amber, is there any
Mhm.
defined capacity that a particular, or let's say this application Power BI desktop can handle?
I would say if you are talking about those resources, I would say have at least 8 GB of RAM. Anything more than that is good. But we cannot go and talk about the data, the size of the data, right? So
Mhm.
anything above 8 GB RAM should be good enough. If you're having 2 GB, 4 GB of RAM in your machine, it's going to be very slow. When
Mhm.
you go and have your Power BI desktop install, I'll tell you the steps to install it. And when you start working with it, you'll feel that slowness in your machine. So it's a very heavy application. And like I said, it's using the memory continuously. So it can be heavy and also slow down a lot of things. You'll
Mhm.
feel that, but anything above 8 GB of RAM should be good enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How to download in our system a modern PI tool?
Yeah, I'll tell you how to download Power BI. We are getting to that. We'll just go cover a few basic concepts, and then I'll give you the steps to that. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else? Anyone? All right, great. So we'll just go quickly finish this particular slide and move on to the next concept, which is to define the BI in our modern BI or Power BI, right? So we'll just go and define what is business intelligence. We'll get to that, but let's go and finish this off. So like I said, once you have this compressed versions of the file created, you will not have this link. I mean, you can always refresh your file. So let's say today, 10 a.m., I have gone ahead and, created a small copy of my database. So that was until this point in time, right? So this particular data will be only until 10 a.m. in that particular time. So if I want to have the latest data brought in, I'll have to refresh this data set. So let's say tomorrow, 10 a.m. again, I have to go and run this job again, and the database information will be pulled in. So we can refresh things from Power BI. We can ask Power BI to get the latest data and load it here. It is going to overwrite all of that data. That's how things will work. But once this local file is created, it's not going to look at the database and read and write from there. It is going to look at the compressed versions of the file. So that's how I want you to look at it. Okay. So once this is all done, I'm just going to bring up a few things. You can see that I've just marking that as, the connection is getting cut off, and this is how the tool is going to behave. Okay. And once you're done with all the development and all of those different processes, we will publish this to a cloud-based environment called as Power BI service. Okay. So this is going to be published to a cloud-based environment, and we'll talk more about the Power BI service later. Tomorrow, we'll just go and discuss about the architecture of Power BI as well. but I don't want to bore you with all these slides today. So we'll just go quickly, get started with our tool, and we'll just go connect to our data set and load that in some time. Okay. And we'll just learn more about the architecture and other things later. So that's all coming up slowly. We'll have theory as well as the practical parts coming in. So just to get started, I'm just showing you and giving you all this information. Good. Now let's talk about the advantages of working with this tool. Okay. The advantages of working with this tool, and since you have your data lying locally, like I said, this is like running or lying in your local RAM, random access memory, Power BI can get to this very easily. Power BI can go and get to these information very, very easily, and it can reduce the reporting time drastically. And that's one of the biggest advantages that we have. You getting my point? So we have our data lying locally now, and hence you can go and refer to that information, get to that information very quickly. There is no going back and forth to the database, executing the query, coming back with the results. So all of those things are gone. So the tool can very well read this very easily because it's lying locally, and hence it is going to be very, very fast. I'll go ahead and open some reports that I've built in the other sessions. I'll show you how we are going ahead and working with this report. And you can see that a click of a button should give you this information and render the information in front of you very easily. So all of that is very, very simple and easy. So we'll just go ahead and understand that part in some time. Okay. Now this tool is also going to be called as a self-service BI tool. Now, what is self-service BI? Self-service, just like how you do this self-service when you get into a restaurant, and if it is a self-service restaurant, you just go and order something. You go to the counter and you say, hey, this is the order, and they'll just prepare the food and give it to you. You'll have to carry that to your table. You'll have to eat it. You'll have to throw the plates away and all of that. So that's how things work, right? So the self-service in this world, in the modern BI world, is like, let's say there is a person, there is a CEO of the organization. Now this guy is not a tech savvy, he's a management guy, right? So CEO of the organization, he is one of the top level executives, but he is not a technical person. He's not someone who can work with Power BI. But let's say we give him some information on how to get started with Power BI. I'll just say, hey, this is how you want to go ahead and connect to your data set. You pull that data set, you can click on this chart, you can drag and drop a few fields, and you can get started with this tool, and you can start building your own reports, or you can bring out your own insights. So if I just give him like 30 minutes of instructions on how to use this tool, he should be able to go ahead and get started with this tool. So it's going to be that easy. Anyone can go ahead and work with this tool. Anyone can get started with this tool. So that's how beautiful, that's how powerful this particular tools are. You're getting my point? This is what I want you to go ahead and understand. Hence, it's called as a self-service BI tool. So the idea is anyone can get started, anyone can go ahead and work on this tool, and that's how powerful and easy this tool is. So all the disadvantages that we talked about in the traditional BI tools have got converted into the advantages here. And that is how I want you to understand these different details. Yes, clear? Any questions here, anyone? All right, good. I take that as no. And just a gentle reminder again, like I said, and like my team has mentioned in the chat, please use the chat box to share your numbers. Our team will contact you. And if you have any queries, you can get to me or get to my team and understand and sort those different queries out. And then if you are interested in enrolling for this course, yes, please go ahead and feel free to contact my team and do that. Just post your numbers there, WhatsApp numbers or phone numbers, we'll get back to you. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's see how that goes, okay? Now is the big topic. Let's go ahead and understand what is BI in Power BI, okay? The BI stands for business intelligence. Can someone define me what is business intelligence? Can someone give me a understanding of business intelligence? Help me define this term. Anyone has any idea? Let me know. What do you think is business intelligence? Feel free to talk to me, please. I don't want to be the only speaker here. Yeah. What is this? Business intelligence. Have you heard of this term? Yes, please.
So it's basically a process of identifying and collecting the data which is critical for the business, and
Mm-hmm.
representing that data in a very user friendly, or let's say understandable manner.
Okay, good. I would say that's almost the answer, but we are missing something there. Good, nice. That's like 90% of the answer. Very good. Anyone else wants to give it a try? There is something missing there. I just want to understand what part is missing.
Collecting the data for your business regarding whether it's about the profit or like sales or anything,
Mm-hmm.
which is like present, which you can present in a form of like understandable. But before that, business intelligence means you collecting the data for your business from the different sources.
Yes. Okay, very good. And again, I would say that's almost there, but there is one thing missing. You know, what is it? What do you think?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Uh, as per my perspective, business intelligence is like you are collecting, gathering your data, you are analyzing it, and based on your analysis, you are going to take a decision for your company's business.
Very good. So that decision making part is what was missing in the previous two answers. Very good. Yes, I agree to that. And that's our complete answer. Okay. So let me just go ahead and show you something. We'll just go to the and move on to the next slide, and let's go ahead and understand this part. Okay. Everyone gave me the right answers, but there was just one last part missing. It's all about making decisions, right? So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, I don't want you to go through these definitions yet. Just look at the oops. Just look at the uh, diagram here, and I just want you to understand what I have. So I'm just going to split this into two phases. Okay, let's say until this is phase one and this is phase two. Okay, of the process. Now, the answer that I got, the first two answer that I got was only about phase one. Okay, what are we doing here? We are trying to go and gather the data from variety of different data sources. We're doing some ETL stuff. We'll get into these details. We are loading that into some visualization tools. You're bringing out those reports, charts, graphs, visuals, something that you can easily make your audience understand what the data is all talking about. So we are working on the visualization layer. And once that is all done, do you want to just keep that to yourself? Do you want to end it here? Do you want to end the process here? No. The whole point of going ahead and getting the data, doing the ETL stuff, bringing up all those insights, visualizations, and other things was to go and share that with your end user and help them make informed decisions. Am I making sense? Yes. This is very important, correct? So what am I trying to tell you here is there are two phases or two parts of this equation. I want you to please make a note of that. And this entire definition, business intelligence definition, is not complete if you're not letting your users make informed decisions. So that's the whole point of going ahead and building those reports, charts, graphs, and visuals, dashboards, scorecards, you can just name it, and whatever that is. It's all about sharing that to our users to make them help get or take that informed decisions. Is that clear? Yes, that's what we are calling as business intelligence. So these two things put together is what is going to be completing the definition of a BI. Okay. In other words, I'll just go through these definitions here. So the business intelligence is the process of transforming your raw data. You have your raw data here. You have your data set here. Transforming your raw data into actionable insights. Through what? Through some sort of a data analysis. You can do it in any tool. You can do it in Excel. It doesn't matter. You can do it through visualization tools. You can do it through reporting some of the information. So you're just converting your raw data into more of an actionable insight by using these different methodologies, data analysis, visualizations, reporting, and all of that. Why are you doing all of this? The big answer is to help your users take informed business decision. This is what is important, and that is what is going to complete the business intelligence definition. Okay, without the second half of it, there is no point in building that solution, right? Let's say I create and come up with an amazing report, and I'm so much attracted and kind of, you know, um, kind of, what can I? So I'm just not finding the right word. I'm just so much attracted towards that, so that I'm not going to share this with anyone. I can't do that, because the whole point of building that report was to go and let someone else use it, consume it, and help them take informed decisions, right? Let's say you have a application in your mobile. Why are you using a Gmail application in your mobile? So that you can look at the emails. If Google has not built this application with an intention to be shared with any user, then what's the point of building that application? Simple as that. Yes, just a simple and probably a silly example, but that's what I want you to understand. Okay, so things are not complete until and unless you share things with your users and help them take that informed decision. And that's how I want you to look at this entire definition. Is that clear? In a simple way, you're transforming your raw data into actionable insights through some analysis, reporting, and visualization to help the users take informed decision. That's the whole point of building all of those reports. Okay, clear? Good. Now, let's talk about the details here on the slide and the different, small pieces of information that I have here. So I'm going to go through these different details step by step. So we will have our, different sections. We will go and understand. Let's talk about the data sources first of all. Okay. Now, let's take the example of Amazon. Okay, let's say 20 years ago. I hope it was 20 years before when Amazon was launched. 20 years ago, when Amazon was starting its business, did we have the cloud-based environments, the cloud technologies? No, we did not have anything. Okay, let's say there was not enough resource for them to go and use, or it was not a big business, so they did not have a database also. Okay, so let's say they started off with a simple file-based system. So whatever transaction was happening, they were logging that into a file, a CSV file, a text file, or probably an Excel file. Excel can't hold too much of data, but let's go and understand that way. Or probably Microsoft Access database was one of the famous databases of that time. So maybe they were logging everything there. Now, as the business evolved, let's say they were just looking at United States initially, or probably one region there, one city, state, or county, and then they expanded to the entire country level, business. Then they have to go out and make their presence shown or kind of expand their business, and they went, multinational, and that's how they grew their business to multiple, nations. And we got Amazon for India, let's say, for example. So things were not on, let's say, I'm just trying to do this way. So let's say the technologies they used and things they kind of, used to store the data and process the results and all of that, it was not the high tech technology that we today have. May not be have been the case for Amazon, right? So they should have started small, and they have grown like anything. They are the you know they are the one who own the majority of this cloud based business, right? AWS, Amazon Web Service, it's all cloud-based business, and they own the majority of the what is it called, market share in the market, and that's how they are going to be, showing their presence. So this is all Amazon who is just bringing in that kind of nice, good technologies and things like that, and they are just giving amazing service. So, like I said, they should not have started this big right away. They started small and they expanded their business. And like I said, it could be a CSV file initially, then they have moved to some other databases, then they moved on to the cloud-based environment, blah, blah, blah. It can be anything and everything that way. And that's what I want you to understand. So if I were to go out and gather my data, let's say I'm looking at a timeline for Amazon. Today is what, 2024, 2025 already. Yes, we are in 2025. And let's say somewhere around 2000 is when it started. Let's assume that. I don't know the exact date, but let's go back like 20 years ago or something like that. And that's That is our timeline. So here, let's say we want to go ahead and have CSV file. That's what we were using. Then we slowly expanded to a database. Yeah. I'm just looking at the timeline of how the data was evolving and how they were kind of adjusted and accustomed to those different big volumes of data. And then they built a data warehouse. Let's say, for example, we will go through that. Then they went ahead and used the cloud-based environment. All of that is what is happening, and still today they are using the cloud-based environment. So the data has kind of grown, and in order to accommodate that data, they are also kind of improving their technology behind the scene, and they are storing the data in that fashion. Let's take Uber for example, Ola for example. You have so many bookings happening right now as we are speaking, yes or no? So many bookings, so many cancellations, so many kind of disputes going on here and there. So all of that has to be tracked, all of that has to be captured, and these are big databases that I'm talking about. Okay, so they cannot go and start with the hi-fi technology right away. They'll have to start small. They'll have to work on a proof of concept. They'll have to go and pitch that into the real market, and then see how that works. Then they'll have to evolve all of that. So no one is going to be pouring millions and millions of rupees or dollars into something big. You're getting my point, right? That's what we are talking about. So the data sources that I'm talking about, let's say you want to go and get last 20-25 years of data for Amazon. You will have to go and search for those CSV files. You have to get to those databases. You'll have to go through the data warehouses, the cloud-based environments, and you'll have to collate the information from a variety of different data sources, bring it all in one place. We'll just go and talk about that later. So bring it all that in one place, and then you can start building your reports, charts, graphs, and other things from that one single source of truth. I hope you're getting my point. Yes. So this is how things are there for a business. So no business is going to have everything in one place. Okay. So let's say, for example, you are connecting to a database today and you have built an amazing report. You have built and completed your report. And all of a sudden you're getting some set of files and saying, your boss is saying, hey, there are some files coming in. Go ahead and merge it with your data. Go ahead and bring that into your data. And you want to go ahead and start reporting that based on all of this information collated together. So you can get a variety of different data formats. You have to go and bring all of that together, and you'll have to make it as one single source of truth, and then go and work with that. So that is important for you to note. And this is how I'm looking at this information. So you can have variety of different data sources which you may want to go and connect to, and you may be pulling the data from a variety of different data sources. That will for sure happen whenever you work with data. Okay. And that is what I'm trying to denote here. We will be connecting to different data sources now and then, and you can bring in
Hello.
we will have the data coming from a lot of different places, and that's all there. Okay. Yeah. So I hope that is clear, this data source part. So guys, please don't mute yourself if you're not unmute yourself if you're not talking. I'm just going to disable the mic for some time. I'll enable it when I'm done with this particular explanation. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so whenever you work with data and whenever you are dealing with data, you are, like I said, going to work with too many different data sources, and that's how you are going to have it. Yeah, I see a hand raised here. So yes, let me just go ahead and give you the mic access. Yes, please tell me, is there a question?
Yo, my drillers.
Hey, hi Suresh. Yes, please. Okay, good. Let's move on. So let's go ahead and talk about the next section here. All right. Now, whenever you're dealing with the different data sources, all right, different data sources, we are going to work with, whenever we work with data sources, you go through a process called as ETL. Okay, we go through the process called as ETL. Now, what is this process? It stands for extract, transform, and load. All right. So this is what we have. All right. Yes. Now, what is ETL? What does this particular process is all about? Let's go ahead and talk about all of that. Okay. So extract, transform, and load is the process that goes on when you know kind of work with the data. I see some hand raises. If you have a question, yes, please hold on. Let me finish this explanation and I'll come back to you. Okay. There are few people who are disturbing the sessions. I don't want that kind of a thing happen. Just hold on. You have the access to the chat. I believe so. I want you to use the chat for, you know, uh, asking me anything. All right. Good. All right. So ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So let's go ahead and understand this part. Extract. What is extraction? So it's all about pulling your information from some sort of a data source. Let's say you are connecting to a CSV file. You want to pull all that information from a CSV into some place. That's what in simple terms means extracting your data. You're taking that data from a CSV file and probably going to load it into your visualization environment. This is our Power BI file, right? So I'm just going to mark it as PBI. So let's say if that's your Power BI environment, you want to go and extract that into that particular Power BI environment. Okay. What is loading? Loading is again simple. You want to go and push this information to someplace else. So loading is all about pushing the data into some other database, or if you understand our concept, the compressed versions of the file concept. So we are going to push it to our random access memory, and this tool, Power BI tool, can do it. And we are going to store that in our RAM and then work with that particular detail, right? Yes. That's how it is. And this is what I want you to please understand, right? So extraction is all about getting the data or pulling the data. And loading is all about pushing the data to someplace else where we can store and work with that particular detail. Okay. Yes. What is DBY? Someone has posted that one. Okay. What is DBY? What are you referring to when you say DBY? I'm not that good with those, uh, uh, shorter forms of your information. So just give me what is DBY and I'll explain you that particular detail. Okay. Yeah. So this is what we have. Let's go ahead and talk about transforming our data. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about transforming our data. Okay. Let's see. Now, yeah, I'll get to those questions. Hold on. I'm getting a lot of questions here. So just hold on. I'll get to those questions in a while, but let me explain this first. Now, what is transformation? Let's understand that part. I probably may have given this example yesterday, but let me just do this here today again. Let's say you're loading a population data, okay, and you're bringing in the population data. There is a column called as a gender column, and you probably may want to go ahead and have uh, an understanding of your data. So let's say there is only zeros and ones coming in, okay, just zeros and ones coming in this particular column, and that's what you have. And let's say you take this to the next phase. Let's say you take it to the visualization phase and you're building a visualization where you say, hey, this is your, count for zero, count for one, and you're sending that to your user. What's the first question he's going to come back and ask? He or she is going to ask you, okay, what is zero and what is one? Yes or no? So they don't know what is zero and what is one. So you'll have to go and define this better. You'll have to go and say, hey, the zero can be male and one can be female. And that's the way we want to go and store our data. So let's go and change that to male and female. And now this makes much better sense than the previous ways of showing that information. So that's what I'm saying. You will have to go and transform the data, add more meaning to your data set, and that's how things are supposed to be done. Is that clear? Yes. Yes. All right. So transformation is all about converting your data into a meaningful format. We did some transformations in our demo session. If you were part of that demo session, we went ahead and cleansed our data. We went ahead and removed that data. So all of that is what we want to go ahead and do. Yes. So transforming, cleaning up your data set, shaping your data, everything is going to be called as transformation. Yes. Can we say that data cleansing is the same as transformation? Yes, that's what we have. Okay, that's what we have, and that's how you want to go ahead and call it. Let me give you one more example of this transformation here. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have a file coming in, and let's say there are a lot of headers. Okay, there are headers. The headers is telling you, okay, when was this file generated, date and timestamp of it, on which server was it generated, the IP address of the server. Let's say there is the user who generated it. Let's say, for example, I'm just coming up with some details, and then there is your table, the actual table that you want to go and load and take it forward for your reporting purposes. This is our table, let's say, for example. So this is what you're interested in. You're not interested in your headers. Let's say there are also some footers giving the count of columns, count of number of rows that you have, and so on and so forth. So all of these details are here. So there are some headers, there are some footers, but you're not interested in the headers and footers. What you're interested in is this small piece of information, the tabular format of the information. That is what you want to go ahead and take it into your visualization, and you want to go ahead and build your reports based on that. So let's say you want to clean up this file. What would you do? You will delete the first few records. You will delete the last few records, and all of that is how this is going to be. So if that's the case, you may want to go ahead and take this particular information forward, and you may want to go ahead and transform the data and take it forward and then work with your data. I hope that that is clear about the transformation here. So extraction is simple. You're just pulling that information. Loading is simple. You're pushing that information somewhere, storing it, and you want to process it. But transformation is going to be one of the key processes that you follow. And you want to cleanse your data. You want to clean your data, and you want to go with those different details properly. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to go ahead and tell you. This is very, very important. Is that clear? Okay. I'm just going to unmute you guys so that you can talk to me and ask questions. I don't want any silly things happening here. So let's go ahead and, deal with this properly. Yes. Any questions, guys? Anyone?
Yes. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Tits or ass?
Okay. Just give me a minute. All right. Any other questions? Anyone, guys?
Yeah, I have one. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, please. Yeah.
Yeah, for ETL purpose, can we use DBT database tool?
Yes, you can use it. There are different tools available, but you can do this. We are talking about Power BI, and one of the things that you can do with Power BI is you can also perform some ETL operations. Okay, so we are not going to perform an extensive ETL operation. It is all about bringing the data into the tool, little bit kind of shaping it, cleansing it, and then going ahead and taking it forward. So you don't have to rely on a different tool. If you want to do that, yes, that's possible. That's okay, and you can have a final version of your data brought into some format, maybe in a database or something like that, and then you can load it into Power BI. But this Power BI tool will itself do some ETL activities. We'll go ahead and learn what that is, and that's what we can go ahead and do. Yeah.
So does Power BI has got warehousing capabilities?
No, it does not have data warehouse capabilities. I have this in my slide here because probably you're going to connect to a data warehouse and you're going to load it into Power BI. So this part of the entire process should have already been done. So there should have been a team who has identified what are the different data sources. They should have already performed the ETL. They should have already loaded that into data warehouse. So data warehouse is one of the sources with which I can bring in the data. And that's the reason I have it here. So, and whenever you talk about business intelligence concept, we have, data warehouse in picture here. So that's the reason I brought it. And there are also some other reasons that I'll give you after a while so that you'll understand why I have this data warehouse in the picture. But it does not have any data warehouse capabilities. Yes, it is built on some concepts from data warehouse. We'll just go and deal with that in some time, and you'll understand that as we progress. Yes.
So we can't model any facts and dimensions within BI. Power
You
BI?
cannot do that way, but you can load some tables, that is fact table and dimension table, and you can build the data model. That you can do. Yeah.
So in this picture, when you say data warehouse, let's assume, I understand it can't support warehouse, but in this picture, if Power BI start extracting it, where is it loading?
It is creating that compressed versions of the file, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the in-memory concept. It is loading it in the memory and then processing it. Okay.
Is it only in the form of files, or is it also can be loaded into a database and can be fetched further upon?
So a reporting tool is never meant to be pushing the data to a database. It is never meant to be writing the database, writing the data into the database, right? So that's how the reporting tools are built. So we only read the data, we build a report on top of it. So yes, we have the write back capabilities, but that will be done through some, M code or coding languages. That's a kind of a workaround. If you really want it, we can get that done, but that's not the whole intention of working with Power BI. So yes, it can do it. The answer is yes, but we will have to go and do that as a workaround and not a simple process that we follow here. Yeah.
So every time we fetch data from the sources, may it be in the form of CSVs, Excels, or from a
Mm-hmm.
database, it gets loaded intermediately in the form of files on
In
a
the memory.
on in memory,
Yeah.
and then we process our reporting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
All
The
right.
question would be, I guess, once the report is generated, report will be stored in the same
The
memory.
report will be stored just like your Excel file. You'll have an extension XLSX. Similarly, we have an extension called as PBIX, Power BI file, and it will hold the data plus your visuals. So that's a completely different file format. So that's going to be a physical file on your disk. Yes, that will have both the data plus the visualizations inside it. Yeah. Okay.
Amber, did you also mention it has write back capabilities as well?
No, it does not have write back capabilities, but you can achieve it through some tweaking of code. Yes, we can do that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, we will be able to write the data back into the database from wherever we are fetching the data. Is that?
Yes, if that's a kind of a use case you want to go with, we can certainly do it. But that's not the actual, intention of using this
Yeah,
tool.
yeah,
That's what I
got
would
it.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. But at least we have that option available, right?
Yes, you
Somehow we
have
can
that
do it.
option. Yes, correct. We can do it. Using some M code. The answer, we can use M code to go and get that done. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anything else, anyone?
Yes. I have a quick question.
Yes,
If we
please.
transform the data and we send it into visualization, can we always send the data back to get it transformed again if we have a problem?
No, the Power BI tool works in a different way. We'll learn that as we progress. So as we load the data, there are going to be certain steps captured, and Power BI is going to remember that step. So if you transform the data, and let's just do this in a simple way. So let's say you have your database, you have the Power BI file, and we have created some compressed versions of the file, right? So this file is what is supposed to be updated if you want to go and bring the data back. So let's say you are applying some transformation here and you're
Yeah.
loading the data back. So that transformation will be applied again and again onto your data, and that will be giving you the exact same results every time you refresh this particular data set. So there's not going to be any issue with that. It will just all be in place and it will work properly. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so if that's the case, let's move on to the next, part of this particular detail. Let's just go ahead and understand this. Have a look. So we have our data warehouse. The reason I have data warehouse here, and just like how I mentioned, and just like what I just explained just now, some of your data engineering team, we call them as data engineering team, or you can have different names. ETL team, we call them as ETL team sometimes. So they should have already looked at your data sources, a variety of different data sources. They should have already gone through some ETL stuff, SSIS, if you remember. SQL Server integration services. If you know Informatica, yes, that's a tool that can do ETL stuff a lot. There are different tool. Talent is a ETL tool and all of that. So you can use any ETL tool, and what they should have done is they should have loaded that into a data warehouse. Now, you may be consuming the information directly from the data warehouse. So this can be one single source of truth instead of going back and forth into different data sources and trying to pick up all those sources, collate all of that information, load it into some place and work with that. You are just referring to the data warehouse that is already built for you, right? So that's the whole point that I'm trying to make here. That's one big thing. And like I said, business intelligence, whenever you're talking about business intelligence solutions, we are talking about building a data warehouse. That's again the reason that is I have the data warehouse in the picture here. Having said all that, there are going to be some concepts that is going to be, kind of a foundation for your tools like Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, and all of those tools out there. There are going to be certain concepts that are going to be coming from the data warehouse. For example, if you come from the data warehouse background, you'll know that there is something called as dimensions. There are something like facts, or we'll call this as a measure because that's what it is called as inside Power BI. So these small things build your Power BI environment. Okay, there is something called as data model, or you can call this as dimension model if you're bringing that from a data warehouse. So there is a dimension model coming in. So you'll have a lot of tables, and the tables are to be connected together to go and leverage the information from different tables. If you want to, let's say there is an employee information here in a different table, there is a department information somewhere else. So if you want to know which employee belongs to what department, you'll have to connect the dots together. And from that, you should be able to bring this all together, and you can go and build your charts, graphs, or tables in your visualization tool. So that's the whole point of, building this data model. Okay. So we do a lot of things, and all of these concepts are coming from data warehouse. So that's the whole point of having the data warehouse in the concept on in the picture here. And we have a lot of terminologies like this. These are, like I said, the foundational aspects of working with your Power BI tool. So without these foundations, without knowing what's a dimension, without knowing what's a measure, you can't work with a data visualization tool. The data visualizations, the tools that we build is going to be, and the visualization that you bring out finally would be based on dimensions and measures. So that's how I want you to look at it. And you may want to go ahead and understand these small concepts as we progress through the course. You will, and we will go and define them properly, or I'll just give you those different details properly. So that's how I want you to look at this information. Yeah, is that clear? That's how I want you to go and do this. Yes. Okay, any questions? I'm just going to unmute you guys. Yes, please.
But that is required only from a dimensioning model project, isn't it? For relational modeling, you don't require a warehouse concept, and we
That's
don't need
correct.
to
That's
understand.
correct. But I'll call that as a data model in a simple way, relational model. Yes, a data model that we want to bring in. So yes, anyways, you are building some sort of a data model inside your Power BI environment, and that kind of a basic understanding is required. At least a database or a data warehouse concept knowledge is required.
So we need to model in one way or the other, is what you say, isn't it? Either it could be dimension modeling or
Power
relational
BI
modeling.
will have an option that you can import the data model from the data warehouse. So let's say you have all the dimensions, you have the fact, and all your dimensions are connecting to that. Okay. You should be able to bring this same exact dimension model and create that model inside Power BI. I mean, when I say create that model, the tool can create it for you automatically. Or if you choose not to be created this way and you want to go and look at those key columns and connect these dots together, yes, you can do that as well. So there is an automatic way of doing things. There is also a manual way of doing it. All that can be decided as you go through this particular tool, and that's pretty much the way the tool works. Yes.
So let's assume we are dealing with bunch of files, yeah, and we are not extracting out of a warehouse. We are not extracting out of a relational database.
Right.
Okay, hypothetically, yeah. So do we need to design a model within the Power BI before you extract the CSVs or whatever, or once you start extracting, will it build a model on its own? You get my
Yeah,
question?
yes, there are two ways of looking at it. There is something called as auto detect feature in Power BI. So as and when you load these files, let's say you're loading the employee table coming from a file, department information from a file, let's say dependents table from a file, all of that is coming in from one file or the other. When you load it, there is an auto detect feature. And if Power BI can understand it correctly, and if it can give you a relation between this, it will be built automatically. Okay. Or otherwise, I can say, and I can tell Power BI, I can just go and disable a feature saying that not to look for auto relationship, not to create those automatic relationships. You can go and build the data model after the data is loaded into Power BI. So you cannot create a model before you load the data. So you'll have to load the data, and then you can decide whether to auto detect the relationship by the tool itself, or you can choose to go and build that data model. Those are the two ways of doing it. Yeah.
So if I may ask, which way you have considered the most out of your experience?
I would say I will not use an auto detect feature. I want to go ahead and build my own data model because I will know which informations are to be brought together, which two tables are to be properly connected in what way. So I'll just go ahead and do a manual way of building that data model. After I've loaded all the tables, I'll go ahead and connect them together. It's a simple process in Power BI. I'll just drag and drop, and then that will build a relationship. So that's how I build it. So that is how I want to go with that. Yeah. Okay.
Amber,
So
just a side note or side
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
Do we have any specific ETL tool from Microsoft? Like for the Tableau, we have Tableau Prep as
Mhm.
their own ETL tool. Do we
Yeah.
have something like that from Microsoft, which gels up easily with Power BI? Maybe.
Yeah. So see, the Tableau prep was built because, and it was built after Power BI was launched. Okay. So you have to understand why that was built. So Tableau
Mhm.
prep was launched into the market because Tableau did not have the ETL capabilities. It cannot do amazing ETL stuff. Okay. And hence they had to go and they can't integrate a lot of things with the tool. So they built a separate tool altogether. And that's why the Tableau prep was born. Okay. Now
Mhm.
we have all the capabilities inside Power BI. So there is no need for you to look for a separate ETL tool. You can do
Mhm.
amazing ETL stuff within Power BI, and it has an amazing capabilities of the ETL details. So you can do everything here. So you don't have to look for any other tool. But if you want to go, there are a lot of tools out there which are extensive ETL tools. You don't want that much extensive tools or extensive ETL work to be done. So I would say whatever we do inside Power BI is more than enough. You have amazing capabilities here. We'll go through that as we progress. If you remember the transformation window that I showed you yesterday in a demo, if you have attended that demo, the transformation that we apply is itself a very good, nice, comprehensive environment where we can do anything and everything. And so that's why I would say there is no need for a separate tool. It is all inbuilt inside Power BI. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. No problem. Anything else, anyone?
if I may go back to my earlier question again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So the complication comes in modeling. When I
mm-hmm.
say modeling, it's not a big complication, but we need to understand the files and pull it into the staging layer where you need to model it.
Right.
Am I right in saying if you're pulling a warehouse which has been already been prepped
Modeled.
for us, yeah,
Mhm.
the dimension model which is
Yeah.
our warehouse, if you're pulling it from there, and you allow the auto detect model, and you
Mm-hmm,
bring in all the model inside, or a relational database where you
mm-hmm.
also allow it auto detect, and you pull in all the tables and their respective relationships.
Right.
That is far easier than pulling the files, because we need to if we don't have an understanding of these files and how they are related to each other, that's where the complication comes in, is
I
it?
understand. And that is where I'll stress on a point when we go further, just after this or so. I'll stress on a point that you'll have to understand your data. Yes, it can be a relational database that you're connecting to. It can be a data warehouse. Life can be simpler when you bring it from there. But what if it is not that way? Let's say you are putting files in S3 buckets. It's a cloud-based environment. You're putting files there. You want to collate all that information. You want to load it into Power BI. There are different technologies, and we have to work with these things because the client or your customer or your company is storing the data in that fashion. So when that happens, yes, that pain of building the data model is there, and I cannot deny that fact for sure. But that is how you have to go and build the data model. So yes, you have to understand the data, and that's going to be one of the important things that I'll touch base on sometime soon. If you don't understand the data, you won't be able to build the data model. So yeah, that's how I want to look at it. Yes.
Maybe if I may ask this, out of your experience, which of these three have you done the most? The file-based approach, or the kind of pulling the warehouse, or a relational database, or all of
I
these?
have connected to a lot of different things, and it all depends on the data. So yes, I've connected to data warehouse. I have connected to databases and data warehouses the most. And whenever we have a new file coming in, files may be an addition to whatever data model we already have. Maybe I have to plug in that into data model. I have to connect it somehow and bring the data together. So those would be the ways we go work with files. And you're not going to get purely the files are going to be for us to go and do some small things here in our classes. That's where we do, but most of the times files are not going to be the way we create and work with the details. Yeah, data warehouses, databases are the most of the time I connected to that, because like I said, imagine the volume of Amazon, Uber, Ola, or all of these businesses. It's going to be huge. They won't be working with files. So I would say data warehouse or databases are the go-to tools for them, and we'll have to connect with that. Yes.
Yeah. I think in that scenarios, the life is easier from a Power BI
Correct.
perspective, at least pulling the data. But from
Right.
there, you need to build your visualization on top of that. That's another part of it which we need to do
Right.
within
Right.
Power BI, isn't it?
Yes.
If we don't know the model, then there are two parts of it we need to deal with, isn't it?
Right. Correct. I agree to that, every single thing that you're saying. And yes, if it is all coming from the databases, it becomes easier to build the data model, then just focus on the visualization part. Otherwise, you'll have to build the data model and then start doing the visualization. So yes, I agree to those things completely. And those are all the different pain points of, working with data. So yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else, anyone?
Hi, I'm
Yes,
this is
please.
Vijay. Can I know how many types of data modelings are available in?
So if you're talking about data model, I think you're referring to schemas. Yes, is that what you're referring to? And we'll go through
Most
that in our
probably.
session. There are two schemas. Yes.
Okay.
So one is the snowflake schema and the star schema. Those are the two
Okay.
ways of, representing your data model. We'll go through that in
Okay.
some time. Two schemas most of the time. That's it.
Concepts, what about the concepts? How many concepts can you explain?
I think
Uh,
the earlier question is, sorry to interrupt,
yes,
but
please.
I think one is a warehouse model is what he's expecting maybe, and
Okay.
then the relation model is as well another data modeling concept.
Okay.
And I think I'm as a layman, I could say that those two are applicable and available to bring in the data. If not, you can build a relational model within Power BI, and you can model factor, a dimension, or a snowflake or a star schema, which are two different styles of the modeling over here. Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe more, but we need to see. I don't know.
Yes. Completely agree. So was that your question, Vijay? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it sounds good. But I just want to know how many, I just want to know throughout the session, by completing this Power BI, how many data models concepts can I learn from,
No, so
according to
when
the
you're talking about it,
visualization.
see, there are not too many. Okay, there are not too many. Like Anant was mentioning, model
So
wise, you're either
one more
connecting. Yes, please. Go on.
one more query, after a visualization, after loading the data, after visualization, we have to before that we have to create a data modeling. After that we have to go through with the visualization.
Yes,
Which
so
is
there are a lot of things that you have to do before you jump into the visualization phase. Okay. So data model is one. You have to build the data model. Yes. DAX is another thing that you'll have to touch base on before you jump into data model. We'll have to go and transform our data. So the transformation phase is something that you want to go and do. So you want to shape your data. You want to get all the information right before you can jump into the data model. So these are, I would say, more like the things that you'll follow before visualization. Okay, so DAX is again one of the important concepts in Power BI. Then there is this data modeling stuff. Data model can be broadly classified as, like Anand said, it is either coming from data warehouse, it would be a dimension model. If it is coming from a relational database, it's a relational data model, and that's how you want to go and do it. And further, these data model on the basis of how they are all set up, they'll give you two schemas, okay? Snowflake schema and star schema. That's what I said. Let's not jump too much into the details yet. We are going to go through that in our session. So we'll just go deal with that in some time. So don't mind if I can just, or if we can wait until that point, that will all be clear. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Anything else before I move on? I don't want to stick to this particular slide a lot. We want to understand how to install Power BI, and then we'll want to at least get something out of Power BI today. Otherwise, we'll have to wait until the next session to go and work on that. So I'm just going to make or check the time here. We'll have 10 more minutes to go through the details here. I think it's already some time. So let's go ahead and finish this off soon. Yeah. So any questions otherwise? I'll just move on to the next one. So quickly, let's go ahead and understand the visualization phase. Yes. So let's just see. There is a question here. Does DAX and M language will be covered in depth in this course? M language is not required for you because see it's going to be two different learning paths then. Okay. Let's say you have M and you have DAX. So there is going to be a steep learning curve in both of this. All right. So there's going to be a very steep learning curve in both of this. DAX is what is required for you to get the most out of your data. Let's say you want to work on derivations, you want to work some calculations. DAX is what you would go and work on most of the time. M language is going to be completely different from that. So we will not be covering that. And that's not required. From my experience with Power BI, from my experience with this tool, I have never used M query, M language extensively. Okay. So it's not required. So we will not cover M, but we will go and understand the layout of it and understand how to interpret M. That's all we will do. And we will go and kind of, learn mostly on tags. Yes. And my team is just putting the message. So just go ahead and share the WhatsApp number and name, and we'll get back to you. I'm just trying to remind you on that. Nothing fancy. So yes, that's what I wanted to go ahead and tell you that. Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
Now,
you
yes,
did
please.
mention about this M language earlier. I missed that part. What is it?
So M is going to
In which
be
way?
a language that you'll encounter in the transformation phase in Power BI. It's going to be called as a mashup language. Okay, so you're transforming the data, so it's called as mashup language in Power BI. So it's not something that we want to learn. You are going to do some things on the UI user interface. Let's say I right click and I delete a column, and M code will be generated behind the scene. So you don't have to learn M code. It is automatically generated by Power BI. So there is no need for you to learn it. But there is something called as DAX, and that we will learn. That's a formula language in Power BI. We'll learn that, and we'll just go and cover that part. That's what I
So,
was
so,
referring
so apart from DAX and M language,
to.
do someone need SQL capabilities as well on this tool?
SQL, like I said, most of the time, and you were mentioning relational databases, you were talking about data warehouses. So these are built on databases, right? And you want to query them, you need to know SQL. So whenever your project has data in databases, you have to know how to query them. At least the select star from, and the various variations of select query should be very much important to query and get the data. And that's also going to be useful in order to pass input to your Power BI file. So yes, SQL plus Power BI is a very good, nice combination, and you should understand SQL for sure, and you should have SQL knowledge if you want to work on Power BI. It's not mandatory. I'm just talking about the data side of things. You may be connecting to the database, and hence you require SQL. Otherwise, it's not required. It's not mandatory. If you don't know SQL, you can still learn Power BI, but that's a good, nice combination to have. Yeah.
No, well, I understand your point. My point
Mhm.
is, when you do your ETL operations, do you require some sort of SQL capabilities?
The simple
Whether it,
answer is, where is your data? Is it coming from
Mhm.
your database? If yes,
That's
you need SQL knowledge. Yeah.
no, irrespective of wherever the data is coming from. When you
Hmm.
perform your ETL activities within, as per your business requirements or the business logics which they provide you.
You can, but like I said, there are a lot of things that you have to consider. We are talking about in-memory concept, and let's say you have a table where you have 400 columns. You are hardly going to use 20 of them. I don't want you to drag and drop and bring 400 columns. So in that case, you'll have to write a SQL statement. You'll have to say, okay, select these columns from this particular table, and that is going to reduce the amount of column that you bring in. So yes, SQL is needed, even though it is a retail one, or if you're not technical, or if you don't really know SQL, you still should go and learn SQL. There is no other go. Yeah.
See, my point was whether to learn or not is
You
not
have
my
to learn
point.
it.
My
You
point
have to
my
learn it.
point. No, no. My
No, no.
point was
Yeah.
on Power BI as part of ETL activities. Mostly used language is SQL. Is one of those is SQL? Is it?
See, ETL, when the way we use SQL is in the extraction process. You may want to tell Power BI what is to be extracted. So if you're
Mhm.
going back to a database, let's say you're going back to a database. So this is where SQL comes in. It's not the entire ETL where we use SQL. Okay. So just to extract the data, you may want to use SQL, and it can be a simple select statement, and that select
Mhm.
statement can have certain columns. So
Agree.
you can do this in a different way, but it is going to just choke your memory, load too much of data into your memory. All that problems can be coming up if you don't handle it properly. So if your
Mhm.
database is a SQL database, it is good to have that SQL knowledge and then implement it somewhere in your the flow, the process here. That's it. That's how I want to take it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Does that answer your question? I'm not talking
Yeah,
about the learning
partly.
capabilities as
See,
well.
what I'm saying is you're pulling it, you're doing your SQL, and you're extracting the
Mhm,
data.
mhm,
Let's assume it's somewhere sitting in your in memory, wherever. Yeah.
hmm.
So further, we need to do some sort of transformation logics we need to build on Power BI. If we ignore M language, whatever you told me, yeah. So
Mhm.
should we also use some sort of SQL there to perform some of these operations which we need to cleanse the data or filter the data, whatever we would do, or is it a front end operation which we perform on Power BI? That was the
Okay, so
question.
I'll just rectify this. So let me just talk about this. There are three parts. Let's say there is extraction, there is transformation, and loading. So while extracting, we will use,
I
let's say,
think
SQL.
Amber, what he
Yes.
wants to say is, when you get the data inside the Power BI, when we create a different calculated fields or measures or something like that, do we have to do SQL language over there, or we just use the Power BI functionalities to create, or let's say make any calculated fields or some metrics, etc.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain, and I understand the question. So let me just clarify that in a bit more detail,
Sure.
and that should help him understand it. So see, extraction is where we will have SQL. And if you want to filter, reduce, or do any sort of, filtering and other things, you can do that here. Once you load things and as you progress through this ETL process, once you go into the transformation phase, you're going to do that using M query. So if you're talking about transformation, M is the only language that you can use. You cannot use SQL here. If you want to use SQL, you have to rectify this first step and modify that to bring in reduced amount of data, filter it, shape it, do everything with SQL, and then load the data. And once you're loading the data, after you have loaded the data, DAX comes into picture. Okay, so there are three
Mhm.
different languages here. I cannot use SQL in the third phase. I cannot use SQL in the second phase. So that is not allowed. So if you want to use SQL, you have to do that very beginning, at the very beginning. But once you are in the transformation phase, you can only use M. Once you have loaded the data, you can only use DAX. This is how I
So
want. Yeah.
M does play a significant role here, isn't it?
It plays a significant role, but you don't have to learn it. It is being generated automatically behind the scene. Okay,
Right.
you will understand it in our next session. That's where we'll go and learn about it. So I want some patience here. And so that when I show you this, you will all be understanding it. But it is not mandatory to learn. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that clarifies. Yeah. So okay, let's move on. Let me finish this one. So, like I said, once you bring in the data into your tool, you can start building your visualization. Mostly, we are going with reports and dashboards. We'll talk about the concepts of reporting first, but when you publish this to the cloud-based environment, that's where the dashboard concepts comes in for Power BI. We'll talk about these two different things as we progress. And again, that's different. And I don't want you to call a report as a dashboard and dashboard as a report. You'll understand the difference as we go through them, and we will just slowly touch base on that. Okay. All right. And the final thing that we want to do here is we want to go ahead and publish that to our users so that they can go and take some informed decisions. All right. So yes, this is how we want to go and work with our entire flow. Now, if you look at Power BI is going to help you get the data from variety of different data sources. It's a check here. It can go and pull the data from variety of different data sources, and you can go and get that done. The tool can also go do some amazing ETL stuff. So it's a check here as well. And you can go ahead and work with this concept, ETL concept inside Power BI. It has an amazing ETL capabilities, unlike the other tools out there in the market. This has a very powerful ETL capabilities. Okay. Power BI can store a lot of data and work with that data as well. It can compress, store the data and work with that. And like I said, data warehouse concepts play a vital role in the foundational aspects of working with this tool. So that's a check here as well. It is a great visualization tool. So you should be able to go and bring in the visualizations in this tool, and that's going to be amazing as well. And finally, you can share and collaborate with your users, and you can just send this file to anyone, and they can go and start analyzing the report and take their own decisions. So every single phase of this entire process, and this is the entire business intelligence for you, and hence it's one of the most powerful tools out there in the market right now. That's how it has evolved, and that has gained that attention. So it's an amazing tool having all the capabilities that I'm listing here, and this is how you can go and work with your tool. Okay, as we deep dive into those small concepts day in day out, we will go ahead and understand what is happening, and that's how this is going to be doing it. Okay. All right. So that's where I stop my slides. Let me have a look at my clock. It's already almost 2 hours since we started this session. I don't want to go any further. So we'll just pause it here. We'll just stop it here. In our next session on Monday, we'll go through the installation steps. We'll also go through the tool itself. But if anyone has any questions, I can take that up. Not a problem.
One quick question, Amber.
Yes.
Are we also covering Power BI service over here?
Yes, we will cover that. And it's not a free product, but I'll tell you how to get that as a trial version for the 60 days. And I hope 60 days is good enough. And you can repeat the same process to extend it to the next 60 days, so on and so forth. So we will be understanding how to publish our report, share and collaborate with our users. We'll talk about different concepts like apps, and then the licensing concepts, plus
User
the
security.
user security, row level security, and all of that. A lot of things are covered. So I would
Okay.
like you to go through our course content in our website. Yes, so if I just go back to my browser, just go to our rajinformatica.com Power BI training page, and I'll just ping that particular link here so that you can have a look. And this is all detailed in our course content. So if you look at this, if I just come down a little bit, so we will go through the different Power BI concepts, look at that, working with Power BI service, apps and security, all of that is being covered. Yes, we'll
Yes.
touch base on that for sure. Okay, I'm just putting this link in the chat box. You can refer to that. You can contact us on this number, and feel free to leave your number here in this particular chat box so that, our team can reach out to you. And if you have any queries, you can also reach out to me directly through my team and then talk to me and clarify your questions before you can enroll. All right.
All right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the time. If there are no last minute questions, I think we can wrap it up. I'll just give a minute or so before I can end the session. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, great. If there are no questions, I think we'll wrap it up. We'll connect back on Monday again, same time, 7 p.m. IST. Just be here. We'll just go through some more concepts so you'll have a good, nice idea about how the sessions are going and what are we trying to cover. And we'll just go through the same pace to go and go through a lot of details. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
everyone, for your time and patience. I'll connect back with you on Monday and we'll go through a lot more topics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.